Right, so first up, unboxings. Because I need to unbox the stuff and then we can switch systems to use. Because right now I'm streaming off of my main system, right? I'm streaming off of this computer, which I usually use for all my testing. So, there. That kind of looks a little bit tilted. Okay, so, and now there's an ad. At least for my monitoring. Actually, you know what? I'm going to change how I'm doing this. Now, this isn't like a regularly scheduled stream because I just decided I'd like get better at streaming, potentially get and fix up something because I have some mildly interesting stuff to do, and I figured I want to do it in a stream because I suck at making YouTube videos. Because I figured like if you have a YouTube video, there needs to be a production standard. Obviously, I can't hold up any production standards, so that's why I live stream everything. Right, so the 380 is currently in my motherboard review system, but we're not going to be looking at that right now. What we're going to be looking at is, I wanted to unbox some stuff. So, I'll just point you over there. And yeah, this is just another G450M. We're not unboxing that today. Today, I'll be unboxing this thing. The 78LMT USB 3. The only other M-ATX AM3 Plus motherboard I would ever dare using. I don't know if this is properly in the shop right now. It is. Okay, goody. Alright, so let's see what we get here. So this motherboard uses the 760G chipset, so it still has an integrated graphics card, and first thing you get is your I/O panel, some blue SATA cables, which are horrible, an IDE cable. That gives you some idea of just how freaking old the chipset on this is. And manual, driver CD, and more manual warranty guide, you know, that kind of thing. So let's actually have a look at the motherboard, because that's what's actually interesting about this. So this is a very, very budget motherboard. This is even more budget than the 970M Pro 3. This is one of those motherboards that everybody who builds a basic AM3 Plus system tries to overclock on, and finds out, oh, this kind of sucks. So I decided I'm going to have to take a look at it. Also, I figured since it has an integrated... Oh, that sucks. That really sucks. Is this anti-static? Yeah, this looks like anti-static wrap, so this really sucks, right? It use tape that rips up your freaking anti-static, and I like to keep this stuff for storing things. But leaves me kind of upset. And here's the actual board. As you can see, there's not much to it. And this does have an integrated graphics card, and it is a separate chipset on the motherboard. All the heatsinks are attached with spring loads, right? Just spring-loaded clips. So you can see the springs. I don't know if you can. Here, sort of. Right. I have 3 heatsinks, so that would be South Bridge, North Bridge, VRM. 4 DDR3 slots, 1 PCIe, 1 PCI. Yeah, really not an exceptional motherboard in any way, shape, or form. It's only SATA 2, no SATA 3 at all on this motherboard. And this is a Richtech VRM controller, and this will actually give you some idea of how I do my motherboard reviews, because I'll just be doing what I basically do for when I first get a motherboard for those. So first up, how many phases do we have here? We have a phase here for something. This does not look like it's the same VRM as this one, because these two have different MOSFETs. And you never run different MOSFETs on the same, like if you're running a, say, if this was 2 phases for RAM, then you wouldn't be running 2 different MOSFETs. So I have no idea what the second one is for, because there's nothing here that it should be for. Down here we have 5 inductors. It's a 4+1 phase design. I hope it is. We're going to find out when I take off this heatsink. Other than that, all the capacitors are tiny, really badly rated. Are they? Actually, no, these are 5K caps. So that's kind of surprising. These are all 5K. At least by the looks of it, they're all 5K, but they're tiny, so this motherboard probably has a ton of voltage ripple. Definitely not an overclocking motherboard, but hey, I'm just going to run a Phenom on it. So, an old Phenom 2965BE, and I'll be using it for the fan reviews because, hey, it has the integrated graphics card. I don't need to run a graphics card, so I'm not wasting my graphics cards on review systems, because I like to use those for streams. So let's pop the heatsink for the VRM right now, because, you know, there's no point talking about a VRM without seeing what's under the heatsink. And I'm going to need to step away from the video for a bit, because I'll be looking at part numbers in no time. Yeah, I really don't like spring-loaded heatsinks, because they're really hard to take off. You pretty much always need to use pliers. Like, not even these will work. Well, not even pliers. I don't know what these are called. I'm not native English. Okay? I just have an accent. That sounds native, but I'm not. I'm bloody Czech. No idea what these things are called. Come on. Get through. There we go. That's one removed. And yeah. So, first thing I'm noticing, there's no circuitry on the back of the VRM, so that means you could easily strap an extra heatsink there if you wanted to. Could potentially help reduce VRM temps a little bit, and help with overclocking. Though on a board of this grade, I'm not sure if you will be overclocking at all. Come on, there we go. Another one through. This is nice. These clips don't fly off, and the heatsink is pretty substantial. Much better than what's on the 970M Pro 3 from AceRock. So, you know, for all intents and purposes, this might be the better of the two motherboards. That's why I said in my 970M Pro 3 review, until I have this thing, I can't really say that that board is the best M-ATX. But I'm seeing a VRM that looks okay by the looks of it. So yeah, we do in fact have 5 completely separate phases that look true. So we have 4 on this voltage plane. You can sort of see, what's nice about these cheap motherboards, you can see the traces properly through them. So you can sort of see this is your CPU voltage plane for your cores, and that's your north bridge, internal to the CPU. AMD CPUs are weird about that. You have a north bridge here, there's another one on the CPU. And that takes care of the RAM. This one takes care of like PCIe. So yeah, AMD CPUs are kind of whack with that. So you have a lot of VRMs extra. And yeah, so here you have your north bridge on its own, and these are all by the looks of it, running a parallel low side, and I can't seem to find a driver. Unless these are driver chips, which could be the case, but I can't really tell. There really is nothing on the back. And I'd be really surprised if this could actually drive the VRM on its own. So I'm guessing one of these has to be a driver, but let's see if the parts numbers are even different. So I'll just get a better lit position for this, because I can't see anything right now. There. Yeah, and the old streaming system is right now torn apart. I bought a new heatsink for it, because I got sick and tired of the reference cooler. And these are all... Sorry for my voice not in the best condition today. KO393. So these are night costs by the looks of it, which means this VRM probably is completely crap. And these are KO393, KO387. Huh. Oh, I'll have to check these two chips. But I think one of these is always being used as a driver. And then the low side is in parallel, so I'll go quickly look up the spec sheet for this thing. There. Oh yeah, and for the motherboard review, I have an 8320E that I use for all of them, so this will have to deal with an 8-core. Also, it looks like I've set up my volume levels wrong again, so I'll just go quickly fix them up. There we go. Now I should stop clipping. Oh, my internet is... Okay, so these MOSFETs are Renaissance. I've just found the data sheets for them. I'll get back to you soon. Okay, wait, I need to read through more of those numbers on here. Because the one datasheet I found for these are Renaissance, which is a relatively good company for MOSFETs. And they're apparently 40 amps rated, which is kind of whack for such a low-end motherboard, you know? Because that would mean this should, in theory, if you throw enough cooling at the VRM, handle an 8320E even up to almost 5 gigahertz, which is weird, completely weird. So I'm thinking I'm not getting the right data sheets right now. I'm gonna go. Actually, no, I'm not gonna go do a lot more googling. But yeah, this actually. So this has the potential to be a pretty good motherboard. Of course, there's like the audio section is just kind of depressing. Sure, they have their very like fancy capacitors right here, but they don't really do anything for it. I do like the finish of the heat sinks. Like, this is a very good-looking motherboard, in my opinion, except for the fact that it's so low-end. Other than that, what would be interesting is to figure out if I can strap a VRM fan onto this, and by the looks of that, it shouldn't be too hard. Because you can obviously always try put a fan on your VRM from just dangling it off of the fan mount for your 120 in the back of your case. You can zip tie it to that usually, somehow, if you're creative. Other than that, it might be pretty difficult on this board. Of course, if you don't mind, if you take good care of these little clips, you could just remove the clips and attach the heatsink with zip ties, and then put a fan through the zip ties, which, you know what, I'll demonstrate it right now how you would do that, because in my opinion, that's mildly interesting to see. So, you remove your fan clips, heatsink clips. Make sure you don't lose these. You'll need these if you ever break this board and want to RMA it. Which, considering how cheap this board is a very good chance you're going to do that. If you're pushing it really hard. You know, if you're trying to do 5 gigahertz, which I will. So I really hope the Richtech controller can actually stop me before I kill the motherboard. Because apparently the MSI boards don't do that. They just sort of up and die. Which is why I'm actually getting this board now, because otherwise I would have been reviewing it after the 970M I have. But I heard quite like horror stories from Overclock.net about the 970 gaming from MSI dying. So I went and bought this. I'm going to test this first. I kind of trust Gigabyte more. I had their boards. I had low-end Gigabyte boards. I've taken them under liquid nitrogen. They haven't died on me. They have behaved pretty weirdly. They have throttled. They have stopped me from killing them completely. They have not blown up yet. Though Gigabyte did have pretty bad boards in the past for the AMD series CPUs. So I'll go get zip ties right now. Should just be in my jack box of zip ties. That's an unopened pack. I don't want to open that up. Let's see. There we go. So these are just, you know, completely generic 10 centimeter, 2.5 or 3.5 millimeter zip ties. I think these are 3.5 millimeter. Not 100% sure. Now, how would you go about mounting the heatsink on this? Well, so first of all, it's easier to put your zip tie heads on the other side of the motherboard hole, because then you have, because the heatsink obviously makes stuff harder. So you put your zip tie through like that, right? Heads there, zip ties like that. Great. So we got one zip tie in. Let's throw another zip tie on it. And of course, I do all my motherboard reviews with a fan on the VRM, just because I don't trust most of these motherboards not to kill my 8320. So, yeah. And then I usually try them out without the fan. And basically just assume that all my reviews are just assume that you throw a fan on there. Sometimes I'll forget to mention it. So, that might be a bit of an issue for new people. But yeah, I've managed to push 4.7 gigahertz on the ASRock 970M Pro 3. And that motherboard wasn't anything amazing. If anything, I think on this motherboard, if the VRM is powerful enough to like not explode instantly, I think maybe doing a capacitor mod and adding more capacitors to the motherboard, which isn't that hard, because we have we have your V-core plane right here. So you just have to find a good grounding location, and there's some caps here you could probably use for that. And if you can't find ground here, you can just solder onto the back of the motherboard. So now let's get these zip ties on here. Now this is just one way to do the fan. I think you could also try hook the zip ties around the back of the through the heatsink grills. That would also work, but this is probably the best way you can do it. Alright, then you just pull the zip tie down. That's one side. Now let's pull down the other side. If you have some O-rings or something made of rubber, they're pretty good to put between the zip tie and the heatsink to add some extra mounting pressure, but as you can see, this is solid. Now, that's not coming off anytime soon. Okay, this one's kind of loose, so I'll just go and pull this one through a little bit harder. Which means I need pliers again, or whatever the freaking things are called. There. And I can't get this one tight. Yeah, so you'd want to use some rubber O-rings, which I don't have right on hand, but I should have them somewhere. Oh. No. Jump off the crap now. Oh well. I'll probably include that in the review on how to fix this motherboard up. So yeah, that's for this motherboard. And you should be seeing the review quite soon because I get through my motherboards really quickly. Yeah. So, yeah, maybe the ASRock might get dethroned pretty soon. And I'll finally know how to help people with these on r/overclocking. And the other thing, the real focus of today's unboxing was going to be this thing. Yep, people, this is a Cooler Master V8 GTS. I'll be completely honest, this heatsink is not that well reviewed. It doesn't seem to, it seems to be about on par with an NHD 14, NHD 15 type cooler. Depends on the review sites. I think it might be a horizontal bias cooler. By that I mean, if you have it standing up like this, it'll perform better than if it's mounted in your tower, hanging off like this. because I've encountered that with some other high-end Cooler Master heatsinks. I don't do cooler reviews, don't have the equipment for it. Honestly, they're too expensive. So this is basically just an unboxing and some opinions on it. And I'll be throwing it on the 7870K because I decided I want a heatsink for that. So I wanted to overclock that thing a little. And you know, can't overclock on the stock AMD heatsink. Sure, it's built for 125 watts, but I want 5 gigahertz, and it's not going to do that. So let's get this opened up. Hey, freaking. Whoa, this one's staticky. Well, that is really staticky. Let's get rid of that. So the packaging is typical modern Cooler Master style, very good looking in my opinion, honestly. It's also relatively easy to open up, which I'm happy about because I don't like wrecking the boxes. Right? And first things first, accessory box, mounting hardware, all that kind of jazz, right in here. Now what's really more interesting is the cooler itself. So let's get that out. And by the looks of that, that'll be a pain. So foam. This is good. This box is going to get plenty of use out for me. Okay. Let's see. How do I grab this? Whoa, it's a beast. Indeed it is. This is the V8 GTS. So there was another cooler under the same name of V8, and that one wasn't very good. It shared some design, like it actually looked very similar to this, as far as I remember. But it wasn't a very good cooler, and so they scrapped it and made this one. And this one has 6 heat pipes. By the look, no, this actually is rocking 8 heat pipes. So I actually think they could have put more heat pipes. But what's interesting about this cooler is it integrates a vapor chamber. Right, this is the kind of thing you would see on a Sapphire graphics card on the Vapor X line from Sapphire. And they're actually using it very similarly to how Sapphire uses it. I'm actually not going to peel that off quite yet. Let's get this out. So now this is just there to protect your thin stack from crushing the fan. Well, getting crushed against the fan. I'm very happy with the thin stacks. They're all blunt. Some of these heatsink companies want to like seriously injure you with some of the heatsinks they put out, especially some of the Noctuas I've held. Those were like bad. I've got cuts from all over them, but these fins are actually relatively thick, so there's no risk of cutting yourself on them, which is probably a good thing because I can't imagine how this is easy to mount. So let's go do that. Let's mount this monstrosity. Oh yeah, and here's a warranty. There should be a warranty sticker if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, this thing. So thankfully, it's not in quite as offensive place as some of the V1 as the V120s. Oh, bloody mosquito! I've been hunting you for 3 days. There's a mosquito that's been in this room for like 3 days. It still hasn't bitten me, but I really want this. Kill it. No. Almost. Damn it. Oh well, it'll be back before the end of the stream, that's for sure. So yeah, vapor chamber, lots of heat pipes, and the other interesting thing is it doesn't have your usual tower setup. So like the NHD14 has 2 towers of fins. This has 3, and they're not even towers. This is like, I don't know. This is sort of like extra fin stack. Very unique by all means. Now, it also performs about the same. Costs more, about 25% more in the Czech Republic. I'm not sure how much it costs in the US. Yeah, nice heatsink. So let's throw it on the A80X system. I'm going to lift you up for that because I need to be able to work here. So yeah, get you out of the way. And there we go. So let's see, I'll clean this place up a little bit. This out of the way. That out of the way. Yeah, just my laptop hard drive that I'm running this off of. Great, so let's open up the accessory box and start reading the manual. This is probably going to be the most painful cooler install. Actually, no, nothing's going to be painful than the fan text. PH14, I have one of those really big dual tower Fantex coolers. That thing is a freaking butcher. My poor unfortunate hands. And today the camera's working really well. That's nice. Let's see, and it didn't die. So this is AMD. Oh, sweet! I really like when companies just, especially Cooler Master tends to do this a lot, but they recycle the AMD mounting system, which I really like, because I like the, well, they're not recycling the whole thing, you still need to take off the brackets, but they're not trashing it, which is, in my opinion, a great thing. Let's get to this. This is interesting. Honestly, I would have preferred if this box opened differently, but whatever. Not gonna stop me. Ooh, and an alternative AMD backplate. So I've actually been thinking about trying to see if you can't get these backplates to act as extra heat sinks. And I might be doing an article on that sometime soon. But I keep thinking about doing that and keep forgetting to buy the stuff to do it. So that's that. And that's your Intel backplate. And whoa, this thing sucks. This is plastic. Strong plastic, but still, it's plastic. I mean, oh my god. What are this price? Plastic backplate? I'm disappointed. But, whatever. I'm not using it on an Intel. Now, for LGA 2011, this is fine. The LGA 2011 is special. And will this fit over my RAM? And it does. It does indeed. That's the nice thing about the design of this monstrosity. It fits over even relatively high heatsink RAM due to having these shorter fin stacks instead of the Noctua HD14, for example, would have a fan here, which would be already inside, like getting in the way of your RAM. So that's nice. That's a good compatibility feature. However, this is also freaking tall. It's 166 millimeters, so it won't fit. It won't fit in a lot of cases, a lot of the cheaper cases, because a lot of cases only go up to 160 millimeters, which honestly, in my opinion, is freaking stupid because it's basically just a case of making the case wider. And since when did that cost that much more? Yeah, so this is at least a relatively easy to build cooler. And they provide, ooh, and they seem to provide a, yep, they do provide a better thermal paste than with their other heat sinks. So this stuff is new. And honestly, most thermal pastes perform the same, more or less, so I'm not going to bother with replacing it. Some protectors for your motherboard so you don't scratch the PCB. I would have preferred plastic O-rings, because you can reuse those, but, you know, it's not a disaster again. So there's slight improvements this could have. I guess they might one day want to release a GTS Plus or something, so, yeah. There are some things I would iron out of this. And here are your just two screws that assemble the heatsink, so that's great. So LG 2011 stuff can just go back here. I'm going to recycle the plates I already have on the motherboard. And I'm going to have to, actually I'm not going to even have to unplug the motherboard, that's great. I'm really happy with that. Now I need to go get a screwdriver. Which I luckily always have one on hand. Let's get this thing mounted. There we go. Poor motherboard box. Getting abused to death. I'm really confused. Is this stream freaking working? Because for me, the computer's messing around. Okay, the stream is working. Great. Let's get this apart. And from the reviews I read, the mounting system on this thing is freaking terrible. Now that may be the case for Intel, since most reviewers use Intel mounting. But I wonder if it's going to be the same for AMD, because in my experience, the Fantex AMD mounting system was just like a freaking monstrosity. Well, let's see. I'm going to use the protectors, and I need the manual again. I don't want to screw this up on stream. Usually I wouldn't use the manual at all. I feel like a dumbass for a couple minutes. To remove the stock brackets. Did there, done that, been there. How do I read this? Okay, attach Mosquito's back. Go screw yourself, Mosquito. I swear, I've hit that guy like 5 times already. I never killed him. He's one lucky mosquito. Okay, so now we just attach the AMD brackets, which are these. So wait, how do they plan the cooler to go on? Because those... Oh! Okay. That makes sense. And which orientation? Mm-hmm. Cool. Let's flip this thing over. And... okay, that's wrong. Put it on like this. And get this little screw. I don't know if you can see that properly. I'll bring you in for that. I don't really need that much space now. Yeah, again, sorry for all the bloody camera work, but what am I going to do about it? So, you know, just taking this bracket, putting it here, aligning it, putting a screw through it. And let me just get my smaller screwdriver. This should be relatively simple. And it's not going to be. Okay, I can sort of see why this could be kind of awkward, but at least it's not. Yeah, this is awkward. Really freaking awkward. If you don't have a magnetic screwdriver, this is going to be painful. And even with one, it is somewhat. Ow. There we go. Come on. There, seems like I got it. There we go. Yeah, okay, so it's not that bad. I'll just do it on the... oh, wait, I screwed it. Okay, so here's the thing. Your vapor chamber idea is great, except it's making the mounting ridiculously hard. There we go. This time I should have it. Ah, stupid screw. No, stay, stay, stay. Stay. Huh. There, now I seem to have gotten it. Properly. Good. Seems like it's misaligned, doesn't it? Yeah, this seems bent. A little, but, you know, whatever. Not gonna stop me from mounting it, probably, so that's fine. I wonder if I'm doing this wrong. If this... no, it definitely goes under. Yeah, it definitely goes under. Otherwise it would be too high off the heatsink. So I'm kind of sad this is not a spring-loaded heatsink mount, which in my opinion are always better because they add some extra pressure to the mounting. Right? But of course, if your screws are the right length, then you're going to get more mounting pressure than without them. That's that. Now what do I do with it? It's probably just going to be thumb screws after this. There's a wrench. Okay, I see the wrench. Da-de-da. Okay, throw it on the motherboard. Throw. Wait, what? Oh, I need to use these. Okay, well, they have some just basic nuts, and use it with... So I'll just check that these work with the retention plate I have on there right now, which they should. Because all the AMD, yeah, they do, which is great. So now let's get this monstrosity mounted, and I don't really trust the thermal paste. I'm going to go use something better. So for today's mounting, I'm going to use NTH1, one of the best thermal pastes you can get. It's really easy to spread, that's nice about it. And I'm not going to be demounting this anytime soon. So that's that. That's very little right now. Did I seriously run out already? Well, looks like it. Oh well. Huge tube, no thermal paste in it. Swear, not that great. Let's see. The cardigan. Yeah, I'll just use the cardigan, so that means. Gotta wipe it off. Just, you know, gonna do the spreading method again, since that's the one I trust the most. And I'll just do that. Hopefully this will spread properly. Oh yeah, as easy as ever. But I think I don't have enough thermal paste on there. Yeah, it looks like it. Whoops. Not enough thermal paste. I'm getting a lot of uncovered heatsink. Gotta get this. See, I hope that tube still has enough. Good. I'm running out. No, it's here. Well, there. Should just about finish this. This thermal paste may look kind of solid, but it actually, like, if you just gently try to spread it out, it goes really well. So, that's why I like it. Relatively simple to spread out. Just go right over it. Does its own thing. Other direction. Obviously, I'm not getting much on this edge. This part's too long. Go! Got that covered. Looks good to me. Okay. Well, that you wasted a ton of thermal paste though. So yeah, this method isn't that great. I just have a little like metal thingy that I kept using for spreading. That worked a lot better. And okay, the base of this is not anything glorious. So usually you want a mirror finish on these, but I didn't quite get that. So I'm just gonna, and there seems to be some kind of, under the right light, you can see some kind of oil on there, so I'm just gonna go over it with some steel wool to polish it off. Yeah. Well, there's a lot of nickel on the base of this, that's for sure. But some of these things, when you do this, they just convert, they turn copper pretty quick, but there. Yeah, that's looking better. Obviously, if you wanted a better finish, you'd have to do it with sandpaper, but for a quick fix like this, this works. Let's pop the monstrosity on there. Now, okay, so they're actually using the metal, well, the metal bracket as their retention system, like screen loads, because those things don't quite reach. And they also don't. Great. Okay, so this is something that manufacturers need to freaking get through their heads. You can't give me short screws. This is just every time. Every freaking time. This is like, this was the same problem on the Fantex, except they're solving it with a freaking pain. Yep. Exactly the same issue. These goddamn threads aren't long enough. Which obviously means that you can't mount heatsink. Yep. That's going to be hard. So hopefully this tool actually does, they say it does, fix that. Nope, it doesn't. Oh, what did I expect? Another AMD mounting system that just freaking sucks. I should have just, at this point, I should have just given up on anybody ever managing to make one that doesn't. But whatever. Come on. Get. Damn. Oh, there we go. That locked in. Did it? Nope, it did. Ah. Why is this so hard for most motherboard manufacturers to? Still, not as bad as the Fantex. There it was significantly too short, like several millimeters off. At that point, I just have to question, like, do you know how to use a ruler? Because it must have been obvious to everyone that that wouldn't fit. And, yeah. Okay, so this is... Yeah, I think if I pop the RAM out, which will be interesting to see, and that actually fits really nicely. So they got one thing right, and one thing wrong. So yeah, this is probably the biggest heatsink you can get with this kind of RAM clearance. And also one of the worst AMD mounting systems I've seen. No, definitely not worse than that Fantex. Because I'm never going to forget that one. Yeah, it just popped out. I think this one's over tight. Loosen that one up. There. Come on. Do it. It's the amount of freaking pressure I need to put on this to get it up. No. It just won't catch. I'm going to try to flip the back plate. Because... Yep. There we go. That should work. Hey. You know, freaking clips to... Yeah. There. Okay, now it caught. So, yeah, eventually you'll get it, but still, could, in my opinion, be simpler if they just gave you slightly longer threads. Really. It's not going to do anything. These things are on a grounding hole, and if you were using these, right? If you were using these, still no issue, especially with these, no issue, because it's freaking isolated electrically. There is no harm in having threads that scratch people's motherboard backplate, because honestly, you're never going to see the back of it, right? Unless you're, like, nobody has a see-through motherboard. If you do, I want to see it, and probably buy it, because that's badass. But other than that, it's just like, give people bigger screws. Because even if they go through, what's the worst that'll happen is, like, you'll have to buy a spacer or something. Still better than not being able to mount your damn heatsink. Especially when there's a little MOSFET heatsink in the way. I'm really happy with this mounting system. I don't see why all the reviewers were complaining so much. This isn't that bad. Still, that Intel backplate sucks. That is cheap, crappy plastic, so that's points off right there. Yeah. Other than that, this is great. Now it's just tighten it. Which isn't that easy, because honestly I can't see anything down there. Also, I got knocked to a thermal paste freaking everywhere, so that's really not great. Oh well, it's either blood or it's thermal paste, but I end up covered in one of them. See, I don't know how deep this is. Can I pull this down all the way? That's cool. Okay. So now it's just a case of using your included wrench and tightening all the screws. Which is still kind of hard, especially if your motherboard had more ridiculous heat sinks than this one on the VRM. Yeah, I wouldn't want to do that. I wouldn't. Oh, and I got all the wires here. Oh well. Obviously, your system can look nicer than mine. And the other problem with this cooler, it overhangs your first PCIe slot. If this was a 16x slot and you wanted to have a graphics card, no can do. So that's the two downsides to this cooler. But the mounting system is relatively good. And the performance should be fine. It has good memory compatibility, so it's a good heatsink. It's just a little bit tall. That's the only downside I can think of right now. Alright, and I'm loosening that, aren't I? Never rely on me to know which way to tighten something. These wires are kind of obnoxious. And this system obviously will take forever. Because these things, you gotta go, and you gotta do it again, and again, and again, and again, and again, and again until it's tight. And I'm doing it the wrong way. Bloody hell. Yeah. Sounds like the heatsink's gonna rattle when I turn it on. Hear that? Sounds like some loose fins in there. Hopefully it's not too bad. I'm pretty sure it's these front ones that are loose, not the main. No. Could be. I don't know. Can't tell right now. And, you know, it can rattle while I'm installing it. If it doesn't rattle when I turn it on, none of the rattling matters. There. Well, certainly not the fastest mounting system, but hey, it works. Alright, this one's tight. Unlike some mounting systems. This one seems to be tight too. That means I just need to finish these two off, and we're good to go. And then it's off to the 380. Since this is all I wanted to show you as far as new stuff goes. There we go. I'm not going to be overclocking this thing today. Oh, and good news, I've already got my tank of liquid nitrogen, about 16 liters. So next time is going to be fun. There, nice and steady. Plug this thing in, and then it's going to be off with the stream, and I'm going to just set up this system, let it boot up. Once it boots up, I'm going to throw the stream onto it. There we go. And then it's just going to be fixing up the 380, which is what the title is about. I'm going to show you some really cool stuff I got, because what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to build like a mini voltage panel, well, control panel for the 380. Alright, I'm going to move all the potentiometers off of the card. I'm going to move all of the resistors off of the card, so the card will be back to being a true dual slot GPU. Right? So that'll work. And it'll also give you voltage monitoring everything. And it's really cheap to actually build that. So that's nice. And yeah, this is a 7870K, so I don't need a graphics card. Yes! Like, if I had a graphics card, I'd be flipping this thing, so yeah, that would suck, wouldn't it? Great. Let's turn this on. Apparently this thing is supposed to look really impressive when turned on. And hopefully it works. And again, I forgot to hook up the keyboard and stuff, and well, it did nick me on the thumb, but hey. The sacrifices I've made with some other coolers, this one will not rip your hands off, so that's good. I like the cooler, looks good. Yeah, and you can even see I have a sticker upside down, but it doesn't matter. I'm planning on getting a... Oh, why does the stream keep stopping? For me. There we go. So yeah, this is just going to go into a Lion test bench. This is going to be my main system when I move to England. Now let's get to the 380. Since, oh yeah, and power this on first, which means keyboard. Where did I put it? There. After this power's on and starts, I'll be back to volt modding. There we go. That's the power switch. I'm wondering, where's my mouse? This sucks. I have no idea where my mouse went. The secondary one. I'm not good at this. Should have figured that one out before I did the try starting. That is really weird. Where the hell did it go? Oh well. I'll just start it up with a motherboard. Oh yeah, this cooler does look good. Yeah, and even the fan flow is wrong and everything. And it's loud. And it's rattly. That's quality control. Yeah, it seems to be the main fin stack. I've already got spider webs everywhere. Oh. Oh, damn it, mosquito. Miss him again. Well, let's see. It should be starting right up. I'll just get a mouse for it. And select streams. Short cable. Oh, that's great. I'm just not going to be able to interact today, so whatever. I'm just going to pull it off of this one. There we go. So after this system. Okay, this is great. I'm not going to be able to type this on this keyboard. Ah, well. Yeah. Okay, so this system's nice and started up. Ah, pin stack though. Nobody cares about. Oh, come on, my Windows activation failed since I moved the hard drive. Nobody cares. Nope, don't want to do that. Okay, I'll go extricate the 380 while that starts up. Oh. There we go. 3. It's back. So let's go fix this up. That means tearing down all of the everything that's broken. So I figured out why this didn't work. Thankfully, so what happened was I had both of the potentiometers set to 0 ohms, which is why it started at high voltage and went down. I did not make any mistakes in the process of the volt mod. The volt mod is actually completely correct. I'm just an idiot, and I almost tried the card. Thankfully, these resistors were way higher than they should have been, and they stopped me from running the card on way too much voltage. So the card is still good. And that's exactly why you should always, when doing your own volt modding, consider putting safety resistors. That way you can't do stupid crap like I tend to do. Now, let's see, where's that extreme thermal base? Oh, I already threw that in there. So, the cool thing about this part is I don't need to tear the card down. Alright, it's really simple. It's going to be much quicker. And what I'll be doing is I'll be hooking the card up to one of these things. So these are 2-volt digital multimeters. They only measure 2 volts. Up to 2 volts, there's no settings. They cost like $10. Yeah, like $10 for one of these. And they're great. They have an LCD. They run on 12 volts, between 9 and 12 volts AC or DC. And yeah, exactly what I need basically, because hook them up to 12 volt rail in a PC. You know, so that's why the Molex connector is already on there. And I'm not sure if I'm going to change that to something better. And basically, I'm just going to build a little control panel for the card by moving the potentiometers onto this thing, removing the like measuring points off of the card because you don't need them any longer. You know, just overall make the card more useful, and make this into your little controller that you plug into the card, and it does everything for you. Which actually means I'm going to be getting rid of the Molex, which isn't that hard because this is just another screw terminal. Well, that's nice and easy. I'll go put this back where it came from. Also, I don't need I'm just going to put some switches on there so that we can switch between the voltages that this card produces. It produces 3 different voltages. I'm going to put, so this is going to have a 3-way switch. Don't remember how the switch works, but that doesn't matter. Again, really cheap. This is probably the best way you can make a, now there's those ROG control panels. If you only care about like overclocking features, this is basically like a little control panel from ROG. It'll almost do the same things, except for maybe fan control and stuff, but you know, you can expand on this and build up whatever you want if you just find the right controllers. So we just need switches. Also, this potentiometer is way overpowered. powered, I think. I'm not 100% sure on that yet, so I'll still keep the 50K for now. Let's get some light here. And I'm going to go swap streams, so that's why the stream is going down. Actually, not yet. I need to find the mouse. Well, whatever. Stream is going down now. I'll be back in a couple seconds, I hope. Ideally.